personal power, people positive, the community of connection. This is the Bob Jeswald Show.
You know what I keep thinking about, Joanne? I think about like cruising, on a Sunday afternoon. But cruising with the Queen is a whole different thing. That's coming up today, of course, right here on the Bob Jeswald Show, and with Joanne Kogel and my sidekick. And she would tell you more than anything else, when you met Rasheeda Ali, you thought, wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I mean, yeah.
Who would have the gumption, but only a woman that comes from a space of faith, right? Would that be fair to say, Rasheeda?
It would. I'm just me. Anybody who knows me, I'm a Columbus native, for one. I've been here all my life. I left for a while, though, and moved to New York and got the taste of New York City for about 12 years.
New York City!
Yes. But I've always been me, though. I never forgot where I was from. I had great English teachers, and therefore my addiction became superb as a young girl. And to be able to get speaking roles or just being out there in front of people was easy. Being in the right place at the right time put me in radio, because I was in radio in New York. And after that, it just one thing after another. You know, but radio lasted for over 50 years, though.
Ironic. You should have been on TV. I mean, Joanne would agree. That face is a TV face.
You know, having the not being real confident in myself or how I look. You know how women have to look a certain way.
That.
Oh, okay. Were you saying? And I'm
I
just
said turn your mic around.
Oh, we're just doing an audible here. You could just tell.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm giving weird cues. So anybody watching on YouTube,
We weren't on.
I'm
we
sorry.
were practicing.
Not ignoring you, Cruising
I'm
with the
giving
Queen.
you signs. Turn your mic
Sorry.
around.
Oh,
You're
that's what
talking
you
to the mic because you're talking to the side of the mic.
So sorry. You think I would know this by now? So
there.
like this, JoJo.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, me
Okay,
too.
sounds better.
No,
So
you
sorry.
guys are all good. You're good.
Okay.
But
that was
Call me
practice.
Lewis.
Yes.
Okay.
But, you know, I think of you like the Marilyn McHugh or something like that. Marilyn McHugh.
I remember
and
Marilyn.
And you would go to New York. Were you singing? You wanted to do some acting? What was the
Be
premise?
whatever she wants to be.
Yeah.
You know, when I went to New York, it was just to get away from Columbus,
No,
Georgia. I mean,
we've all been there. I've did it, but somehow we come back.
But see, people don't realize my age, number one.
You
They
never
think
ask a
that-
woman.
No,
Oh,
don't
no.
do it, Bob.
I'm that
Rasheeda,
woman.
we have spent so many podcasts trying to refine Bob and his
Well,
politeness.
you met the right one, baby.
Cool.
Okay.
Did you look good? So ready for this? Am I allowed to ask how old you are?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
And the reason that I will tell is that I get young men.
Joanne.
Look, Joanne,
Joanne.
it's cool,
Well,
Joanne.
that's okay if she wants to. If she would like to volunteer, it's okay. But you cannot ask people their age and weight.
This may send ratings through the roof.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, it will. I'm ready. Drum roll.
Let's just say that I graduated high school in 1965.
Oh, so you were 18 years old, 17? How old? And that's 57 years ago, and some change. So
No, are you sure?
I'm
wait
positive.
a second. Wait a second. So that's putting you high 70s,
Well, mid
70s. Okay.
70s.
You got to be kidding me.
No, I'm
That's
dead
crazy.
serious.
No way. Hey,
Serious?
Own that.
Right now, if you're listening on
It's
Spotify,
okay. Anybody
iHeart,
can ask your age.
Apple, go to just seriously go to WRBL.com, the video portion, or YouTube. You can see Rasheeda, the Cruising with the Queen. I mean, she's 75.
Yes.
Wow.
No.
This past October.
You're so.
Happy birthday.
Thank
Gosh, I
you.
want to age like you. You look great.
When
Thank
in
you.
October?
October 12th.
Oh,
Gosh, she's a Libra too. Balance.
There we go.
Scales. That's
I
good.
have a son that's 47,
Oh,
and I
that's-
have another son that's 41, and then I have a grandson that's 17. He just turned 17
Wow.
a few days ago, and a deceased grandson
I'm sorry to hear that.
was Jalil, who passed away from a gun violence last October.
So
And he was 14.
and this is what gets into what we're talking
Yeah.
about today.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to transition that, but like you said before, it's funny how that just came up, and funny not in a haha funny, but just in a more profound way. That here we are talking about Cruising with the Queen.
Yeah.
It's just the passion which catapulted you to stop violence in inner cities. Tell us about this.
Well, first, on the Cruising with the Queen part, that came about from being in New York and being in radio and being sent to an employment agency that sent me to a radio station and said, "Oh, you might do well in radio. I'm going to send you over to WOR, which was an RKO station." And I worked with people like Arlene Francis and Jack O'Brien and
Wow.
Bill Mazer.
This
and
is huge.
I met Walt Clyde Frazier, and I met the man that used to play a TV show, the Columbo guy.
Yeah, he's an Italian guy.
Yeah.
It's
Ben Gazzara.
Ben Gazzara, yeah,
and
Gazzara,
his
yeah.
little short partner,
Yeah,
Columbo.
yeah, Columbo, yeah.
But all of that was at a radio station. I became the Gal Friday, which at that time was the word for receptionist. And I met all of the people that came into the station. And Arlene Francis, if you might be too young to remember her.
I know the name. I'm 57, but I think I know who you're
She
talking
was
about.
on a program called What's My Line?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
before. It was
Okay.
before.
Yeah.
Colin Mockery and.
But
and,
her producer said to me, "Now you're the first person that people see out here at this receptionist desk. You're the Gal Friday. You meet the people when they get off the elevator. So any problems that you have when you enter the building, you leave it downstairs on the first floor. You don't bring your problems up here, because when you meet people here, you're that first impression they're going to get of the station." So I learned that, and I cut it all off, anything that was going wrong, and they always saw a smile. And once I got on radio, they always heard a smile, because I learned that you sound friendly.
You're
know,
right. You
I was
smile when you talk.
Yeah.
See? Right, Joanne?
And it
Oh,
comes
boy.
through the voice. If you're smiling,
does.
nobody sees you. It still comes through your voice. So that led to other things. And moving back home, I worked for Congressman Bishop when he was a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, "Bishop, I want to be back in radio," because I had done radio. I produced a show called The Hit Parade. And all of this cruising wasn't a name at that time, but that's what was happening. And by the time I got back to Columbus and got with Bishop and worked for him, and I was in law in New York. I worked for legal services. I became the vice president of a union. I didn't want to do that.
Wow, gosh,
Yeah.
what a resume.
And so
This is what makes you tough. I think this is where you're and I say you do it in a very nice way. You got a subtle way, but you could be direct at the same time, but with that, even having a bit of that union and standing up for what's right kind of thing,
Yeah.
mentality, that's kind of that's you.
And so all of those things helped to make me this old lady that I am
You're not
today.
old. Oh God, you look
My mother said only furniture and clothes get
yes,
old
that she's
anyway,
right.
so. But moving forward, fast forward too,
Yeah.
because I could go on about being
Sure.
the first to do certain things once I came back home to Columbus.
Yeah.
I would like to speak of one of my first bosses that I had, Mr. Marvin Schuster.
I know that
With
name.
Schuster Enterprises.
Yep.
I was the first black
Burger King.
Burger King,
Yeah.
that's right. But I was the first African American, because that's politically correct to say.
Yeah. So
But-
are you good with that? You know, when people say that, I say, are you okay, or do you want to be, you're a black American or an African American? What is the right, what do you say?
I had a real talk with an elementary school principal about this, because we were doing a Black History program.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't say the school or the principal, but on the paper it said Black History program. It was Black History Month, and it was Black History. And my story that I came to present was entitled "What the World Would Be Without Black People."
Okay.
It was a story that was written by an African named Runel Niebo, and it was written by this person. When I got there, and this was after I had sent the story on paper so that the principal and the teachers could see it and approve for me to come with a skit where the children would be involved, because I've always been about children. They were like, "Okay, Miss Rasheeda, we're sorry, we're going to have to tell you the children will not be able to say the word black."
Whoa.
And that's just what I said.
Jeez, you're kidding me.
I said that too.
kinda
And
confusing.
Yes, it
and
is.
and it came out that, well, it's politically correct to say African American. And I said, okay. And inside I was boiling.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
Because African American for me does not necessarily mean that you're talking about a brown skinned woman like me.
You can have other. You can be West Indian. You can be Middle Eastern. We could be
Right.
Italian. I mean, South Italy.
Let's keep it really real.
Yeah, you're
you
right.
can be white.
You can be white.
You can
and
be from
true.
South Africa and be very
Right.
white.
White, yeah.
And appear to be white.
But you're African.
But,
yeah.
Right. But when you say African American, you don't really know who they're talking about.
It's huge continent. I mean, it's
And
got
so,
yeah.
For me, especially on this particular event, I was talking about inventions that were patented by black people back in the late 1800s.
Sure.
So when you come with the phrase African American talking about something that happened in the late 1800s, it doesn't go together because the term wasn't back then. The term didn't come about until 1967 after the Civil Rights Movement Act had been passed. Then the phrase African American was put out there for the public. And I had to tell the principal, I said, look, forgive me, but I've been colored. I've been a Negro.
Right.
James Brown came around and made everybody want to be black and
Like,
proud.
sure. Right.
And so now you're telling me I got to say African American or the kids can't say black. I said, that's diluting the pride.
Good for you. Yeah,
I just
agree
had
with
to
you.
go
Yeah,
there.
That makes sense.
And this particular principal, she said, Mr. Rasheeda, I know exactly what you're talking about, but in this time that we live in now, and it's so edgy, and young children, they don't hold back. If they
Right.
get in a fight or an argument with each other, they're going to say the words.
They do.
They say the ugliest words.
And that's the one that we don't want to hear. And I get when I hear that is a white or an Italian descent person, from where my family came in, proud of our heritage or whatnot. But that N word just never goes well with me in any regard. Even when I hear my teenage girls, I don't know if your daughter, but I heard it. They're listening to some rap song the other day, and I go, "Turn that crap off." I'll just say it. Turn that crap. That you know what that is? I go, "Oh no, it's not what I mean." No, it's not cool. It's not trendy. It has a derogatory, nasty meaning. I hate it.
Yeah.
And even as somebody of not color or being a black American, or can I say that? I guess
Yes.
black American would be fine because it's specific now.
Yeah.
So, but this is nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, we got to, and it's just accepted.
Yeah.
But yet we're worried about political correctness by not saying, because somebody says, well, you can't say black American, but you got to say African American.
Right.
But yeah, it's okay to use the N-word and all the musical
Yeah.
stuff. And I know you go back to Quincy Jones and all those guys, they be yourself, rap about who you are, talk about the streets where you come from, but get rid of that N-word.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, to answer your question, no, I'm okay to say African American because I know I have to be around people that won't understand if I don't have the chance to explain how I really feel about it. But now I think a lot
The
of
world
people are
knows
going to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on forward, I eventually got back home and got back into radio. And then I did radio for 40 years after I'd been home. Played all the stations. I've done all the music, country. I know
Jeez,
my
I
country
know. Look at
artists.
you. You know it all. You got just
jazz.
every genre.
Yeah,
Yes.
every genre.
Who's your favorite jazz?
Ugh.
I know. Here we go.
It
Yeah,
is.
Joanne's
It's wow. You know.
Joanne loves our open music today, by the way. She's really digging
Well,
it.
here's something that people may not know, but
Yeah.
my oldest son, who was born in New York City, whose father happens to be the son of the world's most famous jazz trumpet player to ever live. Ding, dong,
Dun,
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 dun.
dun, 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 dun.
you
Come
lost
on.
Jazz trumpet, jazz
Trumpet,
trumpet.
me on
come
that
on.
one.
Guys,
Lewis and I are like, what?
Dizzy, say it with me. Dizzy Gillespie. Not yet, not Dizzy.
Not the big
Oh,
jump.
not the,
It's on the tip of your
it's
tongue.
the tip of my tongue. I know it. Oh, gosh. I went from him to
Bebop.
Bebop. Miles Davis.
Right.
Most recent. A lot younger,
I
though,
do
than
know
my
Miles
last one.
Davis.
Phenomenal.
You do?
Well, I mean, not personally.
But you have heard you have heard of him. Okay, great.
I'm loving it. But you know what I think is just, this is just fantastic. I met Al Jarreau when I was in Las Vegas, but then what really set me was George Duke, and he passed away a few years ago. His wife passed away, and then George died of prostate cancer. Great guy. Signed his album Into the Night. It was, and just, he's brilliant. When you see some of these guys who know how to write, just George Clinton. I mean, I Rick James, even I'm from Buffalo, New York. Rick James I met a few times. I remember Rick James came on Soul Train for the first time on a Saturday. We were so excited locally. So Joanne and Lewis are like looking, okay, what the heck is he talking about? But seriously, Soul Train, you can look it up. They still show episodes on YouTube. But Don Cornelius, who was out of Chicago at the time, and he brought Rick James. He goes, okay, Ricky, we're going to put you on Soul Train today. I'm paraphrasing this many years ago, and he goes, I just want you to know that no funny business, no gyration.
Okay.
None of that crazy stuff they usually say. But he was a funk. I mean, that was true funk. And you see these guys that come in, and then they inspired so many different people, like Tina Marie, and you can go on and on. Just if you like that genre.
And we talked about when music was really music, and the lyrics to the songs were just meant something.
It did,
and you remembered those words, and so when you have a jazz artist, and one thing about Miles is he hated being called a jazz musician.
Yeah, because that's not who
because
he
was all around. He could play anything. But my favorite jazz, I don't know if you, as a vocalist, a person that would sing jazz, I loved Nancy Wilson.
Nancy Wilson goes back. She's great. Ella Fitzgerald days and all that. Yeah.
Being a musician myself, a self-taught piano player in Columbus, my youngest son's father was the late Matthew Berry, who was known as Matus.
Wow.
And so who do I like as a musician? It's just, I love music. I don't have one favorite kind of music. One of my recent bosses said, are you trying to play your favorite song, Rasheeda? I said, well, you know what? If I played my favorite song, you probably would not let me work here because it's not R&B.
That's right.
My favorite song of all times is The Mother's Finest.
Oh, yes.
A song called Thank You for the Love.
That's great.
Then I love Ziggy Marley.
Oh, yeah, of course you got all that. You like Zig. Come on, Joanne.
Bob Marley.
Oh yeah, well I do know Bob.
This is one. This is one.
We're gonna put some reggae at your
I do know
workouts.
Bob Marley.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Dude, come on, you got to know Bob Marley. So what? How about the? Look at these guys. I was looking at Joanne.
Yeah.
But how about this? Stevie Wonder, 1976, saved all my money up. I had to get Songs in a Key of Life when it came out.
Oh, wasn't that?
Love the song Isn't She Lovely about his daughter. He sang about her, and there was a top hit that. But every song on both of those dual albums, and then he slapped in a 45 in there of Sir Duke, which everyone goes, it was just a throwaway. They didn't have enough to put on vinyl for two, so they couldn't do two albums in a song, so they just throw a 45 in there. With Sir Duke on one, I can't remember what was on the other side. Maybe it was Sir Duke on both sides. How they did, I don't know how they did it, but I remember hearing that and I heard dun 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 dun, and dun 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 dun. Love the beat, dun 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 dun, and no, it caught on, and I could still remember how much I loved that. My uncle's a jazz musician. It's the only reason why I'm saying this, from up in Buffalo, and he cut some tunes with people, and he has some albums. He was a tenor sax player, flute. He did just about everything, scat, whatever. And my dad was a rock and roller, hardcore, Deep Purple.
Oh, wow.
Bob Dylan, and my mom was jazz, R&B. So I got the mix of both, but I tend to be more jazz and R&B. That's this my brainwaves hit that more. Although I heard my dad, I still like good rock and stuff like that. But,
I just got to say, this is like full circle. For you to be Italian American.
Yeah.
One of my first loves in New York City was an Italian.
Are we allowed to say Italian American? Wait a minute. Could we say it?
Well,
no, I'm just kidding.
He was that guy, and.
But we know Italian American is very distinct. African, again, just so people, I'm being silly, but the truth is, African is too broad base. I mean, you look at the country; it's mixed with French, European, English, British, African of roots of whatever, and whatever. But anyway, go ahead.
But that was one thing, and now you're talking about how much you're into music and jazz and R&B. Then you spoke of Stevie Wonder, whom I had an opportunity to meet twice at WOR.
I love that. Yeah, because you were at the
and
helm
that
of
was
all that.
really something about him, because he was down in the lobby, and I saw him, and I was like, oh my. Now, mind you, this is over 50 years ago.
Right.
And I saw him. I said, oh, that's Stevie Wonder. I got to find. Okay. So I run to the elevator, and I said, excuse me, Mr. Wonder, I know what floor you're going to, because he was going to the floor that I worked on. And he says, you do? I said, yes. He says, and who are you? And I told him who I was. I said, and I work on the 20th floor. and I'll help you to get there. And I think one of the young ladies that he was married with at the time from Wonder Love, the group, was on the elevator. And we go up, and now I'm the talk of the 20th floor. Because I came upstairs with Stevie Wonder.
Hey, at 20-something years old.
Oh,
at the time.
yeah. and they all, what are you going to ask him? You get to ask him a question, because I was on the radio. I was in the production area of radio. Somebody found a picture of me from
Rasheeda, I just want to say, Rasheeda, you're so beautiful. I love your voice. Isn't she lovely? She's
well, my
wonderful.
question for him, by the way, was, will you ever remake Fingertips?
Oh, wow.
Do you know what Fingertips?
I'm going to go ahead
Joanne,
and say
help me out
nope
here.
on that one,
JoJo,
too.
I have no idea. Yes.
That was the first song that Stevie recorded, Fingertips. That made a big hit.
That was what year
I
was
mean,
that?
for the
And
record, I do
believe-
know who Stevie Wonder is.
Okay, good.
I'm
She
3
does
for
know.
3 on those people.
So he would go, everybody say yeah. You remember that?
Oh, that was
Yeah.
Fingertip. I didn't realize
He was
it. Okay.
12 years old when he recorded that.
That was so little. He was. That's when he. This is. Did he have his? He just lost his eyesight.
He lost it a
What,
little
still
before
young
then.
before
Yeah,
then, okay.
very. But the thing about it was, that was a song that's never been remade. And back in the 70s, I asked, do you think you'll ever redo it? And he said no, because that high-pitched voice was a kid
Different.
voice.
That's true.
And nobody could do that. Nobody can reproduce that voice.
Something, yeah.
But
Not even Michael Jackson.
exactly. And actually, Stevie wrote With a Child's Heart.
Great.
And Michael
Yes,
re-recorded.
Michael re-recorded that one.
That's the music side of me.
Yes, I love
and
it.
And I thank you for giving me the time to talk about
We're
all
gonna
of
have-
that,
this
because
is a-
that's not
this
what
is a
we're here for.
No, this is two-part. On
Yeah.
that note, we're going to end right here because Joanne introduced our next. This is in Lewis knows. This is going to be a two-part series with Rasheeda Ali. We learned a lot about Rasheeda in this episode. And coming up next, if you want to stay with us on the podcast of the Bob Jeswald Show, and Joanne, tell us what we're going to talk about in the next
Granny's
half
on
hour.
guard.
Granny's
I think
on
that's
guard.
right,
Yeah.
right?
All right.
That's
Yes,
it?
Granny's
Right.
on guard.
Yep.
That's
Yes,
coming up
there you
next
go.
on the Bob Jeswald. Rasheeda, thanks. Stay with us.
Yes, sir.
We'll be back. And folks, check it out in the next half hour of the Bob Jeswald Show.